Hello everyone, Rachel here, the Modern Shaman, and thanks for being with me for yet another YouTube Q&A video this week. As always, I like to give a little introduction. If you're new to me, I am a working shaman and psychic. I offer one-on-one private sessions here in my office in San Antonio, Texas, as well as online. And I have been within this metaphysical community for well over 20 years, and I offer sessions that have to do with future probabilities, past life viewing, medical intuition, shamanic healing, shamanic soul retrieval ceremonies, you name it, I pretty much offer it. So if you are wanting to further your understanding within your own intuitive gifts, I offer a masterclass teaching curriculum. I also have a master's degree in education, and once I was working in this field and offering sessions to people, I realized I didn't want them to give away their power to me as the reader, asking for my advice and my connection as the medium. I wanted to really train people to encourage them to retain their own personal power and teach them how they had access themselves to the non-physical realm as a soul living in a physical incarnation. But you are soul first. So my masterclass teaching curriculum was born out of that desire to really empower others in their own personal connections and remind people what they're truly capable of beyond just the physical. If you're interested in that, it's available on my website at themodernshaman.net. And if you're well beyond that, if you're a working practitioner or want to develop yourself into being a working practitioner, I also have a spiritual entrepreneurship program that's available to those of you guys who really want to take your skills and your abilities and offer it to the world. Other than that, if you have questions for this channel, this is a free content channel, so you just send in your questions and I answer them. That's about it. All right, I will get on with the question from today. It says, sorry, excuse my eye itch. Okay, it says, Rachel, hi there. Thanks for answering my other question. It spurred me on to ask you yet another one. Okay, so this is a follow-up question. It says, can you help me understand addiction from a shamanic perspective and how to deal with it? What would you do to heal it? Okay. Yes, you know what? I'm sorry, my eye is itchy. I probably need to cut that out. But anyways, talking about addiction as a topic, I've noticed that this is coming up a lot more. And I think that there's not a lot of information out there from the spiritual perspective or the energetic perspective of what's going on here, but it's like very obvious when you think it through. So it's a good topic, and I think it's relevant for a lot of people. Addictions are like silent killers because we experience them alone most of the time. There's shame associated with it, and we feel bad about it, so we hide our addictions, which makes the energy more and more implosive. That's just the way energy works. And so that, inductive type of energy building really creates an explosive internal experience. Right now on this planet, we're seeing a large wave of those who are now adults and are considered by the psychiatric community HSPs, or highly sensitive people. This is another term that the psychiatric community has validated, empaths, or what in the psychic community we would call clairsentients, those who have the psychic ability and gift of reading the energetic frequencies. So picking up on information from the cosmic realm or the web that is data in vibrational form. So information that may be coming in through our emotional body, and so we pick up on the emotions of others that we're around, or the emotions stored in a building, in a room, if something negative has happened there, if there was bloodshed there, if someone died there, if someone just had an argument in there. We pick up on the energetic resonance in and around us. So those types of people I'm going to speak in broad strokes here, but they typically have starseed energy or galactic DNA that came from planetary spheres and had experiences on planetary spheres that were very open in their auric field. Lyrians, Andromedans, Pleiadians, Arcturians, so high vibrational beings with a very refined energetic body, but very open because their experience was very utopian-like, not a lot of polarity in their experience. So these are those that come and they are very loving and very animal oriented. If you're Lyrian like that, they can read animals, animal whisperer types. Those that are teachers and givers and nurturers, and so these artistic types also very expressive and creative. This starseed type of DNA, where the junk DNA is stored and not read, in there is a sense of psychic field, our auric field, our energetic body that has very refined, so soft frequency tones. And so like the atmosphere around our own bodies, right? I'm talking about energy bodies, not just physical bodies, is almost like a fine mist. It's not very coarse and dense, and so we don't have a lot of psychic protection, and we're not used to really creating that. It's almost like we are naively trusting. I'm saying we because my energy is also from this this sphere. I have Pleiadian history in me, a lot of different, anyways, starseed energy. But all that being said, I've noticed this wave, and this typically happens with being easily susceptible towards addictions because we don't have a lot of psychic boundaries already coming in. Like we're not used to doing that or creating that. So we have trouble with physical boundaries, emotional boundaries, verbal boundaries, mental boundaries. And so it seems to be very easy and very, like we're very vulnerable to psychic attack, to parasitic energy, entity attachments, and that type of thing. Now that sounds horrible, but it's not, I feel like that sounds all negative. It's not all negative. These are highly vibrational beings that come in, but from a spiritual shamanic perspective, I just see this pattern. So I'm just noting it and explaining it to you as part of an understanding or awareness of yourself. Know thyself, right? I also, from a shamanic perspective, physical addictions in the 3D world are exactly like entity attachments in the non-physical realm. Okay, so this would be parasitic energy that feeds off of your own. Okay, now that sounds all scary, like a vampire. When I say vampiric energy or parasitic energy, it's just a description of the fact that they are feeders. They feed off of other energetic bodies. Now, we all do this, but when it is vibrationally balanced, it's a nurturing relationship, and we view it positively. Now, if it's energetically imbalanced, meaning one person is feeding harder off of the other energy, then we feel manipulated, then we feel like they're a narcissist. It feels very negative. We feel taken advantage of and manipulated, and it starts to pull because it's not a mutually beneficial energetic exchange. So this would be like a parasitic or a vampiric type of energy that essentially is only taking for their gain and is not giving back in a balanced energetic exchange, or you don't want anything from that entity, or you're not giving permission. And so it falls into dark, right? Or the category of like a dark entity or dark energy. Now, the way that these addictions appear in our 3D experience or our physical realm would be like parasitic entities that used to be called like succubus or incubus energy. So these are addictions to porn and sexuality, sexual addictions, still like super rampant. And this literally, I would clear this and view this like an entity attachment, because it literally is. It's an entity attachment. Depending on where you get the craving, if you get the physiological craving, that's where it's attached to your sacral chakra, which is your sexual center in the energy body. If it is a mental addiction, and oftentimes they're stored in a lot of different places, so it's not just one. It may be stored up in your crown chakra, up in your pituitary, pineal, your third eye. It may be in your heart chakra, depending on where that craving starts to come from, right? Where you feel kind of this energetic pull. And I would clear it just like that. So I would deal with it like an energetic attachment, because it is. Addictions to alcohol. Remember, alcohol is called spirits. Accurately so. And chemicals would be the same, like any sort of chemicals that you feel like you're addicted to, pills or things that you take, even if they feel like they're, like, even if it's plant medicine, but you feel addicted. Addiction is essentially you giving away your power, giving away your chi, your life force energy. And when you are giving this away, now we pull this and we create this. We are generators of this. But when we give it away in a non-mutually beneficial relationship to another entity or another being, then it becomes destructive and it pulls us off balance. And so when we are looking at that from an understanding of addiction, it's essentially just taking away your sovereignty. You feel like you don't have power. You don't have power against it. I can't say no. I'm addicted, right? That is the core of what addictions are. It's just giving away your life force energy to something else in a way that doesn't feel like you have sovereignty anymore. You don't have choice in the matter. So you've got to take back your own energy. You've got to take back your sovereignty. So I think to answer your kind of last question of like how to heal it as a shaman, so I would deal with it first with a clearing, because when you are dealing with these entities, oftentimes if it's a long-term addiction, they have been feeding off you for forever. It's just like a mosquito, right? Or something like that. Think about it like that. Don't give it any power of fear or make it something bigger than it is. It's just literally something feeding off of you like a mosquito. But it can constantly become like its only source of nourishment. So it can also become very demanding of your energy. And so oftentimes when we first quit any sort of addiction, this is where we get the flare-ups, right, from it. We start to shake, we start to sweat, we start to panic, we start to get panic attacks, all of the above, because that entity will flail and scrape and beg because you are their sustenance. So you can cut it, but you've got to cut it and keep it to where they eventually will go to another source of food. And that's just kind of like the animal kingdom, or that realm of parasitic and vampiric entities that feed off. That's just how they are. It's like a bacteria or a virus. That's just how they feed. Okay. That's just the creation of the way they work. That's all it is. And again, those that have open auric fields are a little bit more vulnerable and susceptible. So I would clear it. I would do a clearing. And if this is you and you're going through this, you may need to do this clearing as often as you get the urge. So you may need to do energetic hygiene regularly and a lot at the beginning. Big purgings, big clearings, and then minimal clearings subsequently to keep maintenance of this issue. Okay, so I would do the clearing. I would get knowledge and understanding around it. So not necessarily like counseling, but I would understand it. I would understand the urge. So I would go through a time of knowledge and information around your particular soft spot. Like everyone struggles with certain issues, and these are kind of associated with the bigger lessons in life. I always talk about this in terms of the 7 deadly sins. I have a little piece of paper right here. 7 deadly sins. I don't really like that term, like 7 deadly sins. I don't even like the word sins. But it's pretty overtly accessible to people. Like I feel like, you know, it's lust, unrestrained sexual craving, gluttony, tendency to overindulge in things, pride, inflated sense of self, sloth, laziness, wrath, uncontrolled anger, hatred, greed, excessive desire of things, envy, jealousy towards others. So those are kind of like the basics of where a lot of times entities can attach and start to work in their parasitic way. So once you do that clearing, I would gain understanding of the self, of, okay, these are my weak points. These are the points that, if they're weak, they are the developmental aspect of your journey, meaning that's what you came here to work on. That's one of the things. And that's what you need to work on now. If it's present in your life now as a weakness, then that's the muscle that you need to put in the gym. That's the emotional muscle or the soul muscle that needs to be developed. Okay, then I would work on boundaries, and I would create boundaries. I would create psychic boundaries and emotional boundaries, physical boundaries, meaning if there are physical environments that are not good for you, I would cut yourself off from them. Physical people that are not good for you, I would cut yourself off from them. So I would create boundaries on all realms in which that addiction exists. And then I would create new habits, because addictions have patterns of energetic repetition. So when I see them, they look like a tapestry. They're like woven into your frequencies. And from my clairvoyance, when you pull out the strings or you cut the cords, there's still like a sense of like, this is a flapping material with nothing. It's going to fray the edges, right? Think of it like a tapestry. And so you have to weave in new patterns of sustainability for yourself. So if you hung out with certain friends, you create new friends. If you always tended to fall towards this addiction when you went to a certain environment or to a certain time of night, you give yourself something else to do or something else that's required of you at that time, certain other locations. You kind of set up patterns that are new patterns that counteract the old patterns. So they would be like in direct opposition or in direct relation to those old patterns, but an opposite reaction, a positive reaction for you. And then I would build my sense of self. That's the final recommendation. So these are things that empower you. Do things that make you happy. And you have to, at the beginning, like do them like you are taking a pill. Like, this is my medicine and I have to do this happy thing. I have to go take this walk outside every day like it's my medicine. I have to play my instrument every day like it's medicine, because it is literally medicinal for my body. It is releasing hormones of happiness, and that is retraining my nervous system so that I don't get the panic attacks without the addiction. It's retraining my autonomic body, and the nervous system is retraining my mental structures and my hormone release. So the literal chemicals are not creating that fight or flight response, and it's moving in the areas of the brain from the limbic to the prefrontal cortex, so you're able to make more rational decisions. So you are literally retraining the brain chemically and through your nervous system, hormonally, all of that, when you are doing things that make you happy every day with regularity. So this also strengthens the willpower in giving you a sense of sovereign, like your sovereign energy, your chi flow begins to move and strengthen. And that flow, just like a river, will start to have a stronger and stronger current in your body. And you will be less and less susceptible or vulnerable to this disease of the parasitic entities of addiction. Okay, so I hope that was helpful to you. Send in another question. We'll be back next week with another video. Blessings, you guys.